Hey there, I just wanted to give some tips on how to get some clean cut lines around molding, baseboard, anywhere else where you might have a contrast between colors and painting. One of the features of a really good paint job is that you have some really clean cut lines. So one way you achieve that is really just making sure that you take the time and patience to do a good job. Another thing is there's a few tricks you can do. So the first trick is that you always want to look at exactly what you're going to paint and see from what angle am I actually going to see the line. So let's say there was actually a wall right here. That would mean this side of the molding you would never see because you'd never be able to see from this side. The only way you'd be able to see it is from the front or from that direction, which would mean where do you want that actual line, contrast line to be? You wouldn't want it to actually be on this wall here because you may be standing over there, and if it's not a perfect line, you may be able to see it. Slight deviations. So the best place to put it would be on this side of the actual molding itself, because if you're looking at this way, you'll never actually see the line and you'll never be looking at it from this side. Same with the underside here. Is it better to put it on the front here or on the underside of the molding? Well, since you're probably much less often going to be directly underneath the molding than you will be in front of it, you'd want to put that line underneath the molding because you'll much less likely be underneath the molding. So that's the first thing to always consider is where's the sight line for the actual line. The second thing that I like to do is to use tape. Now you can cut lines too. It really depends on the situation. Sometimes a cut line, if you have a good steady hand, is better than tape, but a lot of times I like to just use tape. And the tape that I always use is frog tape. This stuff, compared to anything else I've used, really just gives really nice, crisp cut lines. And there are some tricks with some cheaper tape you can use, put some caulk on it, things like that, but pretty much I like to stick to frog tape. Now, there's also technique to any kind of taping as well. So just because you're using tape doesn't mean the line's going to look perfect. You're going to get a really straight line, but the thing is when you put the tape up, if you're putting it in little strips, you can kind of see little deviations because you have such a straight edge that you can see little deviations. So you want to do long stretches. And also another thing you need to keep in consideration is the caulking itself. So if the caulk isn't completely even, if the caulk's a little thicker in some areas than others on a seam of some kind, the actual tape can kind of go up and down with the caulk, and then it looks like you have a wavy line because you have such a precise line with the tape, it really shows. So you can use the tape to make sure that you try to make it straight, but then sometimes there are situations where maybe cutting it in with a brush is going to be your best option just so you can get around the aberrations in the caulk itself. So tape is your first option. Then what I like to do is just use my regular cut brush. So then I'm going to be cutting everything in. I'm going to cut everything as close as I can, get it up next to my tape right there, get my cut line in. So pretty much everywhere I get the walls completely painted, it's all cut in, it's taped. Well, how do you get that precise detail at the end? What I like to do is I like to do a little touch up at the end. You can use little brushes like this. If you have some really intricate areas, you couldn't get tape in there, you couldn't get in there with your 2-inch brush, whatever brush you're using to cut in, I just like to come back, get in there, just get a perfect line on some of those really tough detailed areas, and then you get that really crisp line. So these are just little paintbrushes you can get at like an art supply store, but these really come in handy on getting that minor detail. You really get the fit and finish, and then you really get that quality paint job. So I hope some of these tips help you out. Add them into your routine and see how it works. Leave some comments in the comment section. Thanks.